Now, first of all, let me start my speech with a congratulation to you all. You may know that today there is the 95th anniversary of the Communist Party in China, and certainly this has been one reason why your country has made such a great progress, and why we have, for example, this conference about one of the most interesting and most challenging topics in the aerospace industry. And not just the aerospace industry, it covers the civil industry or the civil society as well. We are being part of another revolution, 95 years later, and another industrial revolution. We can shape this new technology, the new unmanned aircraft system technology, which will cover us complete new areas in this airspace. That was described this morning. Maybe today I'm not going very much into details because my other colleagues have mentioned very many important details. Let me just say, originally I wanted to start my speech with giving you a background on the history of our organization, the DIN, being the oldest organization for making standards more than 100 years ago. But then I must say, the first standards, you know where they were developed? Not in Germany, and not in America, sorry. They were developed here in China 2,200 years ago by one of your emperors who decided that you need standards for the width of the roads to have carriages passing the roads, and several other standards like even water supply and so on. So here we are at the inventors of standardization. Congratulations to you. You know, in the DIN, the German Institute for Aerospace Standards, we have very early started to understand that there is a new technology coming up which needs our support, and I show you two publications of my organization, very old publications here, that have been published last year. They all show the main topic, US, the main topic on those DIN for formal publications, and that says something because it was not published by the UAS working group. No, it was published by DIN officially. We are an organization supported by the German government because the norms that are made by DIN, they are recognized as official technical standard. So we have some similarity with CAPE, for example, which is also very well connected to the government, to have a common acceptance of standards, and that's the case also for my organization, the DIN. I happen to be the chairman of the DIN Aerospace Committee since 12 years now, and I also am the chairman of the European Standardization Organization, ASD Standard. ASD Standard is an organization which was created after the war. You know, the DIN was created in 1895, and Europe was divided in so many countries. But after the Second World War, the European countries who had been enemies before decided to join politically and also to join common standards. And this is when the European government decided to establish SEN as a European Standardization Organization, and we, the organization ASD STAN, has been appointed by SEN to take care of the aerospace-related standards. That is maybe a little correction to what has been said in previous presentations, because other organizations are working with us. Some organizations have been mentioned here, but the official standardization organization for aerospace in Europe is ASD STAN. ASD STAN was founded in 1973, and we have more than 3,000 EN standards in aerospace. Actually, in SEN, in this European standardization system, the aerospace group has most of the standards that are published. We are also monitoring the work of the various technical committees of ISO, including the SC16. And as I said before, we are working with different organizations. Eurocali is one of those organizations, but also other industrial groups which work with us for good standards. And ASD STAN compromises of several stakeholders like DIN from Germany, GFAS from France, EASA, you will hear more about EASA later on, the Italians, and so on. So ASD STAN represents 28 countries, not just one country. Sorry for me, but we represent 28 countries. Maybe I should say 28 today, maybe 27 tomorrow. You know about the Brexit, maybe. But Great Britain will still remain as a guest also in the ASD STAN group. We are here to represent our cooperation in this field, and with me I have Dr. Fuchs representing us in the ISO SC16, and he's a well-experienced advisor in this field, and he also is a very high-level legal expert for aircraft rules and other things. And the chairman of the UAV or UAS group, by the way, I hate the name, I hate the two names, and I don't know which one is the right one. I prefer UAS and not aircraft vehicles, because vehicles, that's, at least in Germany, that's a word that stands for old cars, you know. We are talking about high technology here. So I will say UAS group. Martin Sperber, he is not here today, but he represents this group in Germany. What are standards made in Germany? Those standards, and this is very important for us, are always made by all the participants in this industry, not just manufacturers or users. We have the government, we have trade unions, we have public authorities, we have universities, other research organizations, or work safety organizations. We have the people who represent consumer protection, for example. And they're all working in our various working groups together to make sure that it's not just the industry interest, but it's a common interest that develops a norm that should be acceptable for everybody in this field. And this is why our norms are so successful. As a team, we are integrated in the European and the international standards. For example, as you see here on the slide, we, as the team, are mirroring the work of SEN and ISO. We send our delegates and experts into the working groups and technical committees. For example, ASD STAN on the European level and ISO on the international level. Let me tell you something about standardization and innovation. In the beginning, when I started as the chairman of the DIN&L, I heard many people saying, hey, you're so innovative, how can you become the chairman of a standardization organization? That sounds kind of boring. And I told them, well, standardization is very important for innovation. And I gave a very easy example why. Think about standardization as something like this. You describe a technical standard of today and you put it onto paper to make it a firm standard. And innovation is something like this. It's like a mountain, a steep mountain. It's very exciting. Very exciting to go up there and see all the beautiful nature from up there. But how do you get to this mountain? It's very easy. You combine standardization and use the standardization steps for the mountain of innovation. And that's why we belong together. That's why we are sitting here, to help this very innovative and new challenging technology to take off into a good future, into good solutions. Standardization and innovation are two parts of the same medal. They belong together, definitely. In the team we have several organizations, and would you please excuse that I'm not familiar with all the detailed topics of each section. But I want to give you an overview here. The number one section in the DIN is actually the committee UAS. That's our number one committee. And as I showed you before, with these publications, or maybe you see it better on this here, with the publications of the DIN, we give it a high priority. Together with the German government, who is very interested of keeping this technology going. UAS is one committee which has about, well, we're going to see it later on, about 50 members as of today. The second section is materials and methods, but including ALM, including additive layer manufacturing, better known as 3D printing. Additive manufacturing and UAS, they belong together for the future. We have three important topics in the DIN. UAS, additive manufacturing, and Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is a German invention, and it's a highlight topic in your government and our government. It's a topic of many consultations, and it's a big topic of our work. Additive layer manufacturing was invented. Does anybody know when it was invented? Does anybody have a guess? How long ago additive layer manufacturing or 3D printing was invented? Some people may guess 10 years, some others 25. Any better guess? I tell you, it was invented maybe at the same time as the first standards have been made by you guys. It was invented, actually the Chinese wall was built in additive layer manufacturing. The stones were large, but the method was the same. Put one element upon the other and build something. Before that, before people used to build houses, they used to live in caves. They were digging caves to live. Also in Germany. But then they started to build houses to be more flexible, to be much much more flexible. And if we look at the industry of today, most of the industry of today is still kind of caveman. Because what do we do in the industry? We drill holes in steel and in aluminum. We drill holes in material. But of course, you know that the technology of additive layer manufacturing is about to change everything. And this is why we are crossing the caveman age to the modern age in industry. We are experiencing many revolutions at the same time, and they take place in the aerospace industry. Because additive layer manufacturing or 3D printing has its most applications in aerospace. And the drones, the UAS, they will have to use this technology in order to fulfill new requirements, to allow new designs, lightweight designs, and so on for future applications. Two technologies that belong together. In our section 3, in the DIN, it's the typical mechanics fasteners and bearing area. We develop very modern fasteners right now, like the beach-conform fasteners. Beach-conform means free of toxic, free of dangerous chemicals and so on. Section 4 develops electrics and electronics, avionics. 5 is security, quality, and management processes. Section 6 is very challenging. Space and terrestrial applications. And Section 7 is for future engine generations. Here we make standards for new propulsion technologies, for new engine types. And then Section 8, airport and infrastructure. That's also part of the standardization work we are doing. And finally, the most successful section of the past 5 or 6 years is the number 9, cabin systems. We took care of standards that affect the passenger, the inside of the aircraft, like passenger entertainment, light systems, noise protection, and other things that are very important in the aircraft. In the section 1, that is the matter of this meeting here, it was founded in 2014. We have about 3 to 4 meetings per year, but in addition to those meetings, we have a lot of WebEx conferences, which is taking most part of our activities. So people don't have to travel, we just are quicker with these things we use through the internet and through WebEx. By the time the details for this slide was prepared, it still showed 19 members. We are approaching 50 right now. And this group is actually used as a round table and electronic platform. A round table function is very important. It's also very important here. You may have noticed outside of the meeting how important the conversations are. Exchange of business cards, finding out new challenges. Yesterday I was listening to somebody who said he is going to start a new business because he met somebody here, and so on. Roundtable and electronic platform. So our committee represents the German, and I add the European interests in regards to UAS. We represent the interests of 28 countries of Europe, and we work on several topics, and I go to that next slide pretty fast because it's this way. We have 3 main topics, and they have been covered today. And I'm happy that we have selected the right 3 priorities. priority number one for us in the DIN, terms and definitions. If we don't sort the terms in the beginning, it's difficult to bring things together. This is why for us in the DIN it's very important. But then, the requirements for pilots. I mean, how can it be that somebody goes into a shop and gives his son or daughter an aircraft, and she's allowed, or technically is possible, to fly into aerospace for other aircraft? It's crazy. It's like you would sell guns in the shop and have everybody, not knowing what it is, having a gun in his pocket. It's the same. Actually, it's more dangerous than a gun. Even if your gun is fully loaded, you're going to kill, if you're good, maybe 6 people. If your drone flies high enough, you may kill 200 people. That's why we say we need requirements for pilots, and everybody else joined me in saying this. In every of the presentations we see, training for the pilots is very important. Or requirements for the pilots is more than training. And we joined, we also represent the interests of the German government, who puts a big priority on this matter. And number 3, of course, is identification and registration. Unmanned air systems should not be like UFOs, you know, unknown flying object, but at this moment they are. They have to be identifiable. And why? First, of course, in order to register if there's any problem. First, to register for the authorities who is causing a problem. But more important than this is the future development of these unmanned aircraft systems. I'm sure that in a few years only, we will not require pilots any longer to pilot an aircraft that's flying there from Japan. That's just an intermediate step. When I was a child, my grandfather took me to a big shop very close to my home. And in this shop, we would drive in an elevator up to the upper floor. And in this elevator, there was a guy operating the elevator. And he has learned how to do that. He needed to study 3 years to be able to operate an elevator. I don't think anybody of you has seen a human-operated elevator. Now we couldn't even think of something like this. I bet in 10 years we couldn't think of a ground-controlled unmanned aircraft system. We think that's normal, that they fly by themselves, autonomous and safe as safe can be. That's why we need identification among them. They have to be able to communicate, to exchange their strategies, to know where the other craft is going to just interact as everybody else. And then we can really conquer this low-level aerospace, and we can really solve the traffic problems. We can use them for logistics functions, for emergency things, for all kinds of reconnaissance and rescue operations. And there are so many applications we can think of or we cannot think of at this moment. Maybe photography is only a minor part of this. Of course, today it's the most important part. We have future projects in this committee, but they have been shown also by other organizations. There is no need to go more deeply into that, and we have the same topics, the same ideas. Let's take a look at some figures. The forecast by the FAA issued in 2013 shows that by 2020, the yearly number of UAS sold will be 7 million. I'm not so sure if this also includes China. I think maybe it does not even include China. Because that figure can be triple or quadruple, whatever. It could be a lot. It could be a lot of traffic, it could be a lot of applications, and it requires a very good work of standardization. And not in one country, but in the whole community, because it serves for our own good. If we help this technology to really take off the ground, if we help this technology of serving a higher purpose, like working together, like having common cooperation in many things, we really will achieve the best out of these possibilities which are coming up for us. As I said before, we are now experiencing a revolution, and we are part of the people driving this revolution. Quite similar to the 10 or 12 people on this boat 95 years ago. You know who I mean. The DIN is well integrated into international cooperation, and I'm so proud that in October last year we have been able to sign an agreement with Cape to cooperate in some of those matters. And this is why I want to emphasize that our organization, DIN and ASD stand, we are not just for locals. We are open for participants from wherever they want to come. So if you want to be part of this, you can ask to join us, and you can be a member of our groups. If it's convenient enough for you to travel, or if you have somebody in Europe who can represent your interests, you are highly welcome to help us and develop a real good technology together. Why do I love drones? Since a couple of years, it has really captured me. And since there was such a lot of dry information presented to you, of course, the dry information is necessary, yes. But let me close the speech with some photos. And some photos that show application. For example, there's this castle in Germany. It's a beautiful castle, only 10 kilometers away from where I live. And there is a Chinese guy at this moment interested to buy this castle. You know why? Because he has seen my photo. It looks much better from up there than where you are. Or last year I was in France, in a beautiful hotel. And it was even more beautiful from up in the air. That is a photo I took in the evening in south of France. And the owner of the hotel was very happy how beautiful this place is. And now I know there is a guy in the third row who will be very happy about the next photo. You have never seen this, did you? This Vesuvio. This is the volcano, very close to his home. Normally you don't see it from up there. I always wanted to look into the black hole. Here you see it. And finally, an impression of a wonderful trip I had with my Chinese friends last year, and it was taken in the Alps. That's how beautiful Europe is, and I hope we have many more of these wonderful experiences together. Thank you so much.
Some questions for you. 刚刚呢，比尔·霍勒先生呢为我们带来了非常精彩的讲演。那么其中呢提到了美国正在编制的3项标准，我非常的高兴，因为呢我们中国实际上也正在对这些标准进行深入的研究，甚至取得了一定的基础。那么我相信，无论世界上哪一个国家在开展这个标准编制，同样都会为我们的国际标准编制提供一个帮助。下面呢，我们 们就进入我们的提问环节。有哪位来？请麻烦我第一位。
您好，那个比尔老先生，今天呢，我参加了整个一上午的这个论坛会议呢，我觉得呀，就是无人机系统标准发展与应用这个主题呢，在你的演讲当中扣得很紧。其中呢，我对你说的这几个观点，我特别感觉有同感。第一个就是从你的标准件的材料方面，这个是从环保的角度，在德国做的相当好。就是这个从环保的整个标准来讲，渗透到这个标准的制定当中，我认为咱们中国这个包括现在无人机怎么做标准这块呢，环保这块可能还没有涉足，相对德国来讲呢，我们还有一些差距。那么希望在这方面能够跟我们中国的3标所共同在无人机整个环保标准这块给一些进行的探讨和这种的帮助。第二个呢，您刚才也讲了。就是对于无人机这块，在欧洲这块有哪些企业可以共同来进行参与，加入这个组织，进行一个革命性的一个建设。当然了，中国的企业呢，现在都是走向国际化，但是无人机这个行业在我们中国目前来讲发展是初期阶段。那么在这个时候，如果进入欧洲，甚至是像你说的德国的这种的标准，当然你不只代表是德国，代表欧洲，对吧？但是主要是这一块，我们私营企业如何进行？我这个话题就是说，如何进行参与到国际的标准化的这个制定当中？私营企业应该学什么？应该在哪方面渗透进去？甚至说共同来建设，包括一些参与发展这方面，我想听听这个霍勒先生的一个高见。好，谢谢你，我很敬佩你这么大年纪，在这个行业上有这么热爱的一个这个标准的一个这个心劲儿啊，我很敬重你，好，谢谢。
Thank you.
对不起，我不德国说的不好，而且。
Mr. Bill Holler 是个名副其实的中国通啊。
Thank you for your experience and also knowledge shared with us through your presentation. And also I can feel your energy during the time. So actually I can't agree more with your ideas on the standards development and application. Especially you mentioned about the standards of materials in the European unions. You focus on environment, which I can see there's a large gap in China between from the EU because still here now we don't focus that much on environmental friendly materials. So I hope maybe Ding and Kate can work together on that regard. And also a question. So we know that from your presentation you mentioned there are a lot of European enterprises participating in the standardization work. And I want to know that in China, the UAS is still a new industry. And as a private enterprise in China, how can we participate in the international organization of standardization? How can we make our own contributions into it? Thank you.
Yes, I think the answer goes for both topics. Let us work together more closely. This is the reason why we have made this cooperation agreement with CAPE, and especially in regards of environmental friendly standards. I invite you from CAPE to join us because at this very moment we are establishing about altogether 200 new standards for REACH-conform products. REACH, that is a European program for environmental friendly norms. And we are developing those very modern norms together with BNIE in France, DIN in Germany, BSI, as well with all the European partners. And I strongly emphasize that we exchange a kind of dialogue to keep you up to date on our progress and to work together. Maybe Galvin could establish such a dialogue with us.
好，那让我们再次以热烈的掌声向 Mr. Bill Holler 先生表示感谢。